Hi everyone, it's Monica, and welcome back to Tailor-Made Cards for You. Well, today is the last video of my Christmas in July series, and as a treat, I put together a video hop with a group of crafters to provide you with a last burst of inspiration. Now for my card today, I'm going to be putting together a scene using 3 stamps. The main stamp that I'm going to be working with today is from Raisin, and it's this cute little North Pole toy maker stamp set. When I saw it, I just loved it. It really reminded me of that old Christmas story where the little boy puts his tongue on the pole over at Christmas, because I think it was a dare. And when I saw it, I just had to get this set. And then I just happened to have another set that it kind of looked like a schoolhouse, and this is from Picket. So when I saw these two kind of together, I knew that exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to put together the little scene from that Christmas story. Now I'm going to be doing some masking in this particular card. And what masking is, if you've never done it before, it's just where you have some masking tape, and the tape that I'm using is from Brutus Monroe. And you're going to cover up part of your image, or even all of your image, because you're going to be layering over it. Now, if you don't want to mask, you could easily stamp your image and fussy cut it, and then tape it over the image to create your scene. But I wanted to go ahead and do some masking on this because I wanted to have a 1-layer card. So to begin, I went ahead and I started with the stamp that's going to be to the front. So you kind of have to think about your placement of your scene because this is going to be what's important as far as your stamping order. So because this little elf was going to be in the forefront, I went ahead and I stamped him first. And I'm using Archival ink because I want to do some Copic Coloring, and you want to make sure that it's an ink that's not going to bleed. Okay, so once I had my stamped on my cardstock, I went ahead and I took that masking piece from Brutus Monroe and I stamped my image again. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and fussy cut around the elf. Now for this particular image, it really only needed to cover the part of the sign that's on the top left, but I wanted to go ahead and fussy cut the entire elf because I am going to be adding some background ink, and I just thought it would be easier to go ahead and add my elf completely. So as you can see, I went ahead and I fussy cut my image, and then I went ahead and I took the backing part of the masking and then I just put it right over my image. And now I'm ready to go ahead and put my scene together. And as you can see, the schoolhouse really only covers part of that sign. So while I didn't have to mask the entire image, like I said, I went ahead and did it anyway. Now for my stamping, I am using the Tim Holtz stamp platform, and I know this pretty much isn't available anymore, but I was lucky enough to get the small one as well as the larger one when they were available. And if you've never used this, the way that it works is you have to actually flip your glass around if you're working with a rubber stamp or an acrylic stamp. And I failed to actually flip the glass before I started. So that's why you see that I'm kind of having to push down really hard to get my image. But in the end, I was able to get it. Okay, so with my schoolhouse stamped as well as my little elf, I wanted to go ahead and add a couple of clouds just to finish off the scene. And in the end, I am going to be adding some snow flurries as well, just to kind of finish off the snow scene. So the color that I'm using for my background is Broken China, and I am using a Distress Oxide. And then I'm going to be working with the brushes from Picket, which are called the Life Changing brushes. And I really like these brushes. I know that there was a lot of videos going around demonstrating not only the Picket, but there was another knockoff brand as well, which I believe were makeup brushes. But I ended up getting the Picket because I always like to support our craft stores, because if we don't support them, they're going to go out of business. So I went ahead and I purchased the whole set. And what I really like about this set are the different sizes of the brushes. You're able to actually get into the nooks and crannies, and I use these brushes quite often. Now if you notice, I did have some rough edges on on my card because I didn't completely blend it, but I knew that I was going to be trimming down the card, so I wasn't really concerned about that. And quite honestly, when I'm doing a background like this, unless I'm really going to be detailed, I don't worry about how much my background is blended. I do like it to look a little bit organic, and with the sky, you've got, you know, the clouds, you've got different layers. So I was okay with them having some harsh lines on my background. Okay, so once I had my background color, then it was time to go ahead and start with my Copic coloring. And I'm definitely not an expert at Copic coloring. I do all right, and I have some of the main colors, but I don't have, you know, the complete set of Copics. But I do have some of the major colors in order to, you know, be able to completely color up a scene. Now, one of the things that I do here is whenever I have white space, like for instance the clouds, where I'm not going to actually be coloring in the clouds, I do like to create a little bit of a shadow, and the way that I do that is by using a really light gray, and I just kind of outline it because I really think that it gives it a nice look. I don't want to color the cloud necessarily gray, so I just get the lightest gray that I have, which I believe is the N0. But any really light gray will work, and I just kind of outline it. And I typically do that with any of my part of my image that I'm going to be leaving blank, or white, I should say. Now, another thing that I do when I am coloring is ordinarily I'll use 3 colors of different blends, and that creates a really nice blending opportunity. But when I have smaller spaces like the ones that I'm doing here, sometimes I'll only use 2 colors, and I'll typically go in with the darker color and then the medium to lighter color, depending on what will look best. So as you can see here, I'm only using 2 combinations of the same color. Now, scenes aren't typically my style, and I'll tell you why. It's for pure laziness. I really like the way that they look, but they take such a long time. The result is awesome, I have to say, and I do enjoy it. So I definitely wanted to do a scene card, but these probably aren't the cards that you're going to want to create when you're doing a mass production. Now, unless you are just inspired, and you actually do have a lot of time because we have 6 months until Christmas, but these scene cards do take a lot of time, especially when you have scenes that require coloring. One way that you can approach it, of course, is to just kind of stamp everything out. So if you have 20 cards that you need to make and you are just have your heart set on creating scene cards, you can stamp everything out because you already have your masking in place. And then you can just kind of color at your leisure over the next 6 months. Another thing that you can do also is if you don't want to have to work with, you know, masking, especially when you're making a lot of cards, then fussy cutting may be the way to go, because you can just kind of stamp them out, color them up at your leisure over the next 6 months, and then cut them and put them together. Now, for the first card that I created when I was just kind of trying to get my scene together, I did end up coloring the school pink. And while I liked the scene, I wasn't crazy about the color of pink on the school. So for this second card, I did end up going with more of a brick color because I really thought that it looked more like a school. Now, this little elf raisin boat stamp is the stamp set that I'm going to be using for my giveaway on this video. It's a really cute set, and I ended up getting several of them. So I'm going to give away one, and then I have a couple in my shop as well. So if you just have your heart set on this and you want to grab the few that I have, definitely check out my shop, which I'll have links below. And then if you happen to be the winner, then of course I'll refund you if you happen to buy it ahead of time. All right, so with my scene colored, I wanted to go ahead and mat my little scene onto some black cardstock. And then that's going to be what's going to go on my white cardstock. But I wanted to go ahead and mat it first before I added my final touches. And of course, the final touches are going to be these little snow flurries that I had mentioned earlier. And this Hero Art stamp is a really old stamp set that I've had for several years, but it is a really great one, especially for those Christmas cards. This is one of those layering stamps for Christmas trees, and the results are just beautiful. So after I had stamped all of my snow flurries, then I wanted to go ahead and add my little sentiment. And the sentiment that I used that was from the stamp set says, "Well, it looked like a tall candy cane." And I thought that was the perfect sentiment for this scene. The set also has some other great sentiments as well as an image. One of the other images on this set is a toy assembly with a little elf holding a wrench, which is really cute. And this is part of the set, I think, where they call it the North Pole Toy Makers, because the little elf has a elf that's at a toy assembly bench putting together a toy holding a wrench, and then of course you have this little elf with his tongue stuck on the pole. Some of the other sentiments are Santa's workshop, may your holidays be all play and no work. And then the longer sentiment is the workshop is busy, the elves at their prime, getting things done in the Saint Nick of time. So there's a lot of choices for this set, and that's why I chose to actually get it, because I thought that you can make so many combinations of scenes with the stamp set. So remember, this is a video hop, so I will have a link to the next video in my description below. And as always, I'll leave a list of all the products that I've used to create the card, along with the links to the stores. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you want to be entered into my drawing for this cute little elf stamp, you have to be a subscriber and you have to leave a comment on my video. So make sure that you do both, and we will have a drawing a little over a week. So just check back and I'll be doing a video for my drawing. So hopefully you've enjoyed my Christmas in July series, and it's giving you some inspiration to start at least thinking about some of your holiday creations. All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.